Have you ever heard of a battle where 500 men stood against an army of 40,000 and somehow, against all odds, came out on top? It sounds like something straight out of a Hollywood blockbuster, but this incredible story is absolutely true. It's the story of the Great Siege of Malta in 1565, a legendary clash of titans that changed the course of European history. Picture this, it's the 16th century, and the Mediterranean is a battleground. The Ottoman Empire, a colossal military power under Sultan Suleiman the Magnificent, has its eyes set on conquering Europe. They've already taken Rhodes, and now only one tiny island stands in their way, Malta. Defending this rocky outpost is a small, determined group of warriors known as the Knights of St. John, or the Knights Hospitaller. They are the last line of defense. If Malta falls, the Ottomans will have a perfect launchpad to invade Italy and the rest of the continent. The stakes couldn't be higher. In May of 1565, a massive Ottoman armada, one of the largest ever assembled, appeared on the horizon. Over 200 ships carried an invasion force of more than 40,000 elite soldiers, including the fearsome Janissaries, the Sultan's personal guard. Their mission was simple: crush the Knights and take Malta. Waiting for them on the island was a much smaller force. The Knights, led by their 70-year-old Grand Master, Jean Parasot de Valette, numbered only about 500. They were supported by a few thousand Maltese militia and Spanish soldiers, bringing the total defenders to maybe 6,000 to 9,000 men. They were vastly outnumbered, outgunned, and seemingly outmatched in every way. The Ottomans expected a quick victory, perhaps just a few weeks of fighting. They had no idea they were about to walk into one of the bloodiest and most brutal sieges in history. The Ottoman strategy was to first capture Fort St. Elmo, a star-shaped fortress that guarded the entrance to the two main harbors. They thought it would fall in a matter of days. They were wrong. For over a month, a relentless bombardment rained down on St. Elmo. Cannonballs smashed against the walls day and night. The small garrison inside refused to surrender. They fought with a ferocity that stunned the Ottomans. Every inch of ground was paid for in blood. The Knights and their allies patched up the fortress walls with rubble and even their own bodies. They fought off wave after wave of attackers, using everything they had, from swords and pikes to boiling oil and a terrifying weapon called Greek fire. The fighting was hand-to-hand, brutal, and personal. The courage of the defenders was legendary. Even when wounded, they would prop themselves up in chairs in the breaches of the walls, sword in hand, ready to meet the next assault. Finally, after 31 days of non-stop fighting, Fort St. Elmo fell. But the cost to the Ottomans was staggering. They had lost thousands of their best soldiers, including their famous admiral, Dragut Reis, one of the most brilliant naval commanders of the age. Looking at the ruins of the fort, the Ottoman commander Lala Mustafa Pasha reportedly said, "If so small a son has cost us so much, what price must we pay for the father?" He was talking about the main strongholds, Fort St. Angelo and Fort St. Michael. With St. Elmo gone, the full force of the Ottoman army turned its attention to the two remaining fortresses across the harbor. This is where the siege entered its most desperate phase. The summer heat was unbearable, disease was rampant, and supplies were dwindling on both sides. The Ottomans launched massive assaults, sometimes attacking multiple points at once to stretch the defenders thin. Grand Master de Valette was the heart and soul of the defense. He was everywhere, inspiring his men, leading counterattacks, and refusing to even consider the idea of surrender. He was wounded by a bomb explosion but refused to leave his post, saying he wanted to die alongside his brothers. His leadership was a powerful force, uniting the diverse group of defenders into an unbreakable wall of resistance. One of the most critical moments of the siege came in August. The Ottomans managed to breach the walls of Fort St. Michael. Their soldiers poured into the bastion, and it seemed like the end was near. But just as all hope seemed lost, de Valette himself, without even putting on his full armor, grabbed a pike and led a desperate counterattack. The sight of their aged leader fighting in the front lines electrified the defenders. They rallied, pushed the Ottomans back, and miraculously saved the fort. What the Ottomans didn't know was that at that very moment, another part of their forces was being attacked. A small cavalry unit from the old capital of Dina had ridden out and attacked an unprotected Ottoman rear camp. They caused chaos, burning tents and supplies. The Ottoman commanders, fearing they were being attacked by a large relief force, panicked and sounded a retreat from the main assault. This small, daring raid saved the day and gave the exhausted defenders a much-needed break. As the weeks turned into months, the situation for the Ottomans became dire. They had suffered immense casualties, their morale was shattered, and the brutal Maltese summer was taking its toll. They were running low on gunpowder and food. The quick victory they had expected had turned into a nightmare. The knights, though battered and exhausted, simply would not break. Finally, in early September, after nearly 4 months of relentless fighting, something the knights had been praying for arrived: a relief force. A small Spanish army had finally landed on the other side of the island, although this force, known as the Piccolo Soccorso, was not large. The news of its arrival was the final nail in the coffin for Ottoman morale. Discouraged, depleted, and facing the prospect of being trapped on the island for the winter, the Ottoman commanders gave the order to retreat. On September 8th, the Ottoman fleet set sail, leaving Malta behind. They had lost perhaps a third of their army, maybe as many as 30,000 men, to battle and disease. The defenders had won. The tiny island of Malta had defied the might of the Ottoman Empire. The news of the victory spread like wildfire across Europe. It was a massive morale boost for Christendom. The invincibility of the Ottoman Empire had been shattered. Voltaire would later write, "Nothing is better known than the siege of Malta." The victory was so significant that the new city built on the peninsula, the one that had been the scene of such intense fighting, was named Valletta, in honor of the heroic Grand Master who refused to surrender. The Great Siege of Malta is more than just a military story. It's a testament to human courage, endurance, and the power of leadership. It shows how a small, determined group, united by a common cause, can stand against overwhelming odds and emerge victorious. It's a story of how 500 knights, alongside their brave Maltese allies, saved not just their island, but perhaps all of Western Europe. Their legacy is etched into the very stones of Malta and remembered as one of the most epic David and Goliath victories in all of history. Thank you so much for watching. If you found this story as incredible as I do, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for more amazing tales from history. Let me know in the comments what other historical events you'd like to see covered. See you in the next video.